Imagine looking into space and seeing an eye staring back. A glowing ring, a perfect circle of fire, blue at the center, gold around the edges, red gas fading into darkness.
For centuries, this object has looked like a portal, a cosmic tunnel, a doorway to another universe. But the truth is even more powerful, because this is not a portal. This is a grave. This is the Ring Nebula, also known as M57.
And what you are looking at is the beautiful remains of a dying star. A star that once burned, a star that once had a life, a star that reached the end of its fuel and began to fall apart. But instead of disappearing quietly, it created one of the most haunting objects in the night sky, a glowing monument floating thousands of light years away. And the most terrifying part is this: one day, our own sun may die in a way that looks strangely similar. Not in a massive explosion, not as a black hole, not as a supernova tearing apart the solar system, but as a slow, silent release, a final breath of glowing gas, a cosmic ghost, a ring of light left behind after the star is gone. The Ring Nebula is one of the most famous objects in astronomy. It sits in the constellation Lyra, not far from the bright star Vega. Through a small telescope, it looks like a tiny smoke ring in space, a soft circle, a delicate blur. But when powerful telescopes like Hubble and James Webb look closer, that simple ring becomes something far more complex. It becomes a structure, a storm, a shell of gas, a dying star's final artwork. And every color inside it tells part of the story. The blue-green glow near the center comes from extremely hot oxygen. The red and orange light comes from hydrogen, nitrogen, and other gases spread through space. The ring itself is not solid. It is not a wall. It is not a perfect circle. It is expanding gas, a vast cloud shaped by radiation, stellar winds, and the last violent stages of a star's life. And at the very center of this glowing structure is the star that created it, or rather, what is left of it, a tiny, incredibly hot stellar core, a future white dwarf, the burned-out heart of a star. This is what remains after a sun-like star runs out of usable fuel. For most of its life, a star is in balance. Gravity tries to crush it inward. Nuclear fusion pushes outward. At the center, atoms collide and fuse, releasing energy. That energy becomes light, heat, radiation, the glow of the star. For billions of years, this balance can hold. But eventually, the fuel changes. The core transforms. The outer layers swell. The star becomes unstable. And for a star like the one that created the Ring Nebula, the end is not sudden. It is dramatic but slow. The star expands into a red giant. Its outer layers loosen. They drift away. They are pushed into space by stellar winds. Layer after layer escapes. The star sheds itself. What once belonged to the star becomes the nebula. The gas that once formed its outer body becomes the glowing ring we see today. And the core left behind becomes extremely hot. Its ultraviolet radiation blasts into the surrounding gas. That radiation energizes the atoms. The atoms glow. And suddenly, the death of a star becomes visible across interstellar space. That is why planetary nebulas are so strange. They are not planets. The name comes from early astronomers who saw their round shapes through old telescopes and thought they looked planet-like. But the Ring Nebula has nothing to do with a planet. It is the aftermath of stellar death, a star-sized transformation, a cosmic funeral made of light. And the James Webb Space Telescope changed how we see it. Before Webb, the Ring Nebula was already famous. Hubble had captured its glowing structure in stunning detail. But Webb looked in infrared. It saw dust, molecules, fine structures hidden from normal visible light. It showed that this object is not simply a flat ring. It is more like a distorted donut with material stretching through the center. We are looking almost straight down one side of that structure. That is why it appears like a ring. But in 3 dimensions, the nebula is much more complicated. It is not just a circle. It is a sculpted shell, a glowing barrel, a cosmic flower opening in deep space.
And around it, Webb revealed thousands of tiny clumps and filaments. These are not random decorations, they are traces of physics. Dense knots of gas, ripples, dusty structures. Evidence that the star did not die in a smooth, simple way. Its final stages were messy, layered, uneven, like waves spreading through smoke.
And some scientists believe that the Ring Nebula's shape may have been influenced by another star nearby. That possibility makes the story even more interesting, because many stars in the universe are not alone. They orbit in pairs, they interact, they pull on each other, they shape each other's deaths.
A companion star can disturb the gas leaving a dying star. It can twist the outflow. It can help create rings, spirals, lobes, and strange asymmetrical shapes. So when we look at the Ring Nebula, we may not just be looking at one dying star. We may be looking at a gravitational dance, a system shaped by hidden forces, a final performance written by gravity. And this is where the story becomes personal, because our sun is also a star, a very ordinary star, stable, middle-aged, powered by nuclear fusion.
Right now, it fuses hydrogen into helium in its core. That process has been happening for about 4.6 billion years, and it will continue for billions more. But the sun will not live forever. Eventually, its core will change, its fuel supply will evolve, its balance will shift.
The sun will expand into a red giant. Mercury will likely be destroyed. Venus may be swallowed. Earth's future is uncertain, but even if the planet survives physically, its oceans will be gone long before then.
The familiar solar system will become unrecognizable. The sun that gives life will become the force that ends it. Then, after the red giant stage, the sun will shed its outer layers. Those layers will drift into space. The core will remain, small, dense, hot, a white dwarf.
And for a brief time in cosmic history, the gas around it may glow. A planetary nebula, a luminous shell, a final signature. That is why the Ring Nebula feels so powerful. It is not just a distant object, it is a preview, a possible glimpse of our own star's future. The sun will not explode like a massive supernova. It is not heavy enough. It will not collapse into a black hole. It does not have enough mass. Instead, its end will be quieter. But quiet does not mean small. The sun's death will reshape the solar system. It will erase the world we know. And what remains may become something beautiful. A glowing cloud, a stellar ghost, a final message written in gas and light. When you look at M57, you are seeing time, not just distance, time. Because the Ring Nebula is thousands of light years away, the light reaching us today began its journey long before any modern telescope existed. Every image is a message from the past, a record of a star that died before we could understand what stars even were. And now, with telescopes like Webb, we can read that message in extraordinary detail. We can study the chemical fingerprints of the gas. We can map the structure. We can see where the hotter regions glow. We can detect dust hiding in the infrared. We can understand how stars return material to the galaxy, because that is the other side of this story. A dying star is not only an ending, it is also a beginning. The gas thrown into space is not wasted. It becomes part of the interstellar medium. It mixes with other clouds. It can become part of future stars, future planets, future chemistry, maybe even future life. The atoms inside your body were not created in one place. Some were forged inside stars, some were spread by stellar death, some were recycled across billions of years of cosmic evolution. The universe wastes almost nothing. Stars are born from gas, they shine, they create elements, they die. Then they return material to space, and from that material, new systems can form. So the Ring Nebula is not just a corpse, it is recycling on a galactic scale, a star giving itself back to the universe. That is what makes the image so unforgettable. At first, it looks like an eye. Then it looks like a ring. Then it looks like a flower. Then you realize it is something deeper. It is a transition, matter changing form, a star becoming a nebula, a life becoming a legacy. And maybe that is why M57 has fascinated astronomers for so long. It is visually simple, but scientifically profound. A small ring in a telescope, a massive shell in reality,
A beautiful object made by a violent process, a peaceful image of a star's death. And it reminds us that space is not still. The universe is always changing. Stars are born, stars age, stars die. Nebulas expand, galaxies move. Even the sky we think of as permanent is temporary.
The Ring Nebula will not look like this forever. The gas is expanding, spreading, thinning. Over time, the glow will fade. The nebula will dissolve into the surrounding space. The white dwarf at the center will cool slowly over unimaginable ages.
The ring will vanish, the eye will close, and one of the most beautiful objects in the sky will become invisible. That is the strange tragedy of planetary nebulas. They are brief. Not brief in human terms, but brief in cosmic terms.
A star can live for billions of years, but the glowing planetary nebula stage lasts only a small fraction of that time. It is a short final scene, a flash of beauty after a long life, and we are lucky to see it.
Lucky that its light reaches us now. Lucky that telescopes can reveal it. Lucky that this dying star left behind something spectacular enough to study. Because in the Ring Nebula, we see the entire life cycle of stars compressed into one image. Birth, fusion, expansion, death, recycling, future creation. It is all there, inside a glowing ring in Lyra.
And the next time you see an image of M57, remember what you are really seeing. Not a portal, not a cosmic decoration, not just a pretty object for a telescope. You are seeing a star after its final transformation. You are seeing the universe turn death into light.
You are seeing a possible future version of our own sun. Billions of years from now, when Earth is no longer the world we know, when the sun has expanded, shed its layers, and left behind a hot white core.
Some distant observer somewhere in the galaxy might look toward our solar system, and maybe for a short time they will see a faint glowing shell, a delicate nebula, a final ring of light.
They may not know Earth existed. They may not know oceans once covered this planet. They may not know life looked up at the sun and wondered about the stars. But they might see the remains of our star glowing in the darkness, and to them it may look beautiful.
To us, it would be the final signature of everything we ever knew. That is the power of the Ring Nebula. It shows us that even stars die. But in the universe, death is not silence. Sometimes, death glows.